Hello, my name's Anne-Marie from Charmed Life Therapy. Please hit like and subscribe if you enjoy this video and follow along with me as I discuss various topics to do with emotional health. And today I just wanted to do a little follow-up on my video from the other day about Blake Lively. Obviously this is like an ever-expanding thing that's going on right now. And I just wanted to share a few more thoughts that I've had. And obviously, we have to bear in mind we're not in Blake Lively's head. We don't look out at the world as Blake Lively and see it as she sees it. So we've got to always bear in mind that what we think about it all and what Justin Baldoni thinks about it all is their perspective, their point of view, with the filters that they have when they look out at the world. And the amount of personal work that they have or haven't done on themselves too. And I'm sort of trying to really sit back and watch it as someone just with a view to looking at the human side of it. So not villainising anybody, just trying to understand more about how the human mind ticks, because that's what I do in my everyday life. I work with people on emotional issues that maybe I don't understand for myself, but that are very real for them. So I always have to work with this really open mind and not be judgmental and all of these things. So there's a kind of guilty pleasure a little bit in watching all of this stuff and trying to make head nor tail out of it, and also trying not to just see it as entertainment and really negative and jumping on that, bashing whoever. But there's a few things kind of I've noticed that might be interesting, that may or may not be true, but may apply to some of you out there. Well, in terms of when you look at yourself and your own actions and your own behaviours and being self-aware, which is a really healthy thing to be, being self-aware rather than being self-critical. I'm not advocating you go out there and judge every single thing you've ever done as negative, but just be aware and to not slip into victimhood. The moment you slip into victimhood, you kind of lose control over your own life. And I feel a little bit that there's some of that here. I'm starting to feel like, contrary to many of the opinions out there, that a lot of this is about a real self-esteem issue on her part, and not a high self-esteem issue either. The more kind of I've seen and I'm processing, and especially when it comes to things like how you notice how reactive Blake Lively is when it comes to her body. She's very, I mean, the majority of those, or a lot of those bad interview clips that we're looking at, is when somebody's remarked on her body when it comes to pregnancy. She's very much, leapt on it and just, don't look at my body, don't say my body is one thing. It's almost like she's afraid for somebody to imply that her body's out of her control in some way, in a way that even like something miraculous like being pregnant can cast some kind of sense of something or other on her body. I mean, that interview, the main one that's circulating with Kirsty Flaw, when Kirsty Flaw just does that normal human thing of saying, congratulations on your little bump, and then Blake Lively just threw it back, congratulations on your little bump, in a quite aggressive manner. The normal, if you want to call it normal, human reaction there would be, even if she didn't really want to talk about the pregnancy, which had at that time been announced publicly, even if she didn't want to talk about it, all she needed to do was say, oh, thank you, yeah, I'm really happy about it, but I'm just not really here to talk about that, if that's okay, or I don't want to jinx anything. You do something a little bit like that so that the other person, you validated the other person's compliment to you, the congratulations, and you also kind of cut it off at the pockets if you didn't really want to continue talking about it. That's all she needed to do, but instead she went down that route of taking instant offence at the reporter and taking the interview down a whole other track where the reporter was cut out of it. And to me, there's almost this sense of Blake Lively finds it very hard to emote normally with another human being. She finds it very hard to be emotionally honest, I think. I think that's part of it. She doesn't know how to interact with somebody that just wants to have a normal, open, mutually respectful conversation in a way. As soon as it becomes a little bit personal or to her personal life, or might ask of her to be real in some way, and share something of herself, she gets very, very snippy. That's what it seems to be like. Um, and that can be a real self-esteem issue if she's not sure of who she is as a person. If she's not sure how to function as a real human being in this world and connect on a deeper level. To me, they're starting to feel a sense of that. I mean, if you look at that new video that's come out, I think just yesterday or the day before, where Justin Baldoni has released some, I think about 7 minutes of video worth of video clips, raw footage from the movie, which addresses this sexual harassment claim that Blake has made. And the majority of people who've looked at that footage say there's no sexual harassment there at all. It's a little bit strange and awkward because obviously they're acting, trying to portray that they're falling in love with each other. At the same time, they're just talking about random things because there won't be sound on the finished clips. And actually that in itself was interesting, really, really interesting, because what happens is that you find in that clip that Justin's vision for it is that the two of them are going to be not really speaking at all. They're not going to be moving their lips. They're going to be looking at each other, making eye contact, because Justin's interpretation of that, related to his own wife and his own experience, is that they can spend minutes just gazing into each other's eyes quite happily, that they don't necessarily need words to communicate. So he wanted to portray this in this scene, and what very quickly becomes evident is that Blake is highly uncomfortable with that eye contact. She can't handle it, even like in an acting sense, where it's not even real. She quite quickly says, no, Ryan and I would be talking, we'd be blah, 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 there's not enough time in the day to talk, is how we feel. And what Justin says, which I think might have actually quite annoyed Blake, and he wouldn't have meant it at all, but again, it's that thing of, this is in attacking what I feel about the world and what I know to be true, and I don't know how to handle that. What if I am wrong about my vision of what a healthy relationship looks like? And again, that's that lack of self-esteem is what I'm hearing, what me personally is hearing, and I could be wrong, because she insists then on talking, even though this scene is going to be in slow-mo, nobody's going to hear these words, so it would look very odd, their mouths moving, if it's going to be in slow-mo, because obviously the lips would be in slow-mo. And anyway, Justin replies by saying, oh yeah, Blaze basically says, you and Ryan are very cute, that's very cute. And she says, I think it's more than cute. And again, there's that, even though she says it like in a not a sharp tone of voice, I think there's that real element of, is that all right that my relationship is that? There's a sense to me of that feeling a bit threatened by him saying it's cute, even though he meant nothing by that. So I think straight away she's feeling very, very awkward and very, very insecure. And I do wonder if what some people are saying is true, in the sense of, did she have some kind of attraction for Justin Baldoni and she didn't know how to handle that? And is Ryan Reynolds' reaction to it all that he was aware of this? And there's also that aspect of, she had not long ago had a baby, so some people are arguing, well, it could be some kind of postpartum thing, how she's feeling, hormones surging and all of that, which could be true, certainly to some extent, but I think you've also got all the past and previous evidence of how she handles life as well. So I just thought it was worth doing a little catch-up video and just mentioning some of these things, that a lot of this, and how defensive she is now, and how she's sticking to her version of this, even when, the majority of online opinion now is that she's in the wrong, and why doesn't she just back down and just walk away from it, make life easier? she's still sticking to that narrative. And there's all these questions: why is a husband backing him when it's clearly not going the way that they think it's going to go? Because if what they've shown in terms of these video clips is what they think of as sexual harassment, it's clearly not. It's clearly just film footage from a movie where people are supposed to be acting like they're falling in love. And you've got to expect that somebody's going to touch you in that scenario. And he doesn't seem to have done anything untoward. He brushes his, stubble against her face, makes a slight joke about, oh, sorry, am I getting beard on your face, just like that, just like for something to say. And she's mentioned something about her spray tan or her body makeup. And he says it smells good, meaning don't worry about it. It smells fine, it's not a problem. And she's twisted all of that to make it as if it's intimate language that's out, not in character. When she instigated all the talking, he wanted silence in the scene. So she's not happy when she gets her own way, and she's not happy when she doesn't get her own way. And to me, that speaks to real, more than anything, insecurity and a lack of self-esteem, a lack of emotional resilience in a way. And again, it's that thing of, is it because she was brought up not to really have to deal with hardship on her own and figure it out for herself? I mean, even now, this idea of her husband and Taylor Swift being her dragons, and she's got them at her side should she need help with anything, because in the past, she's been overlooked. In her opinion, she's been overlooked or overruled when she's had an opinion. So these days she's got these dragons that fight for her when necessary. And that's a really unhealthy thing. Because like when push comes to shove, we're all on our own in this life. So we need to know that if there's nobody else around, we can handle things by ourselves. We can sort it out. Because at any time, somebody else can be taken away from you, or they disappear of their own volition, or whatever it is. So it's really important in life that you can handle yourself, that you don't necessarily, it's lovely to have other people, but when push comes to shove, you need to be able to handle your own shit. And basically she's intimating that when I don't get my own way or I feel slightly threatened, I bring in reinforcements. That's how I handle things. We all should delegate. We should all feel like we don't have to handle everything, like especially when it comes to your work and your career, like you can hand things off. But if you're kind of saying that when things don't go my way, I'm going to bring X, Y, and Z in, even if I'm not in the right, even though somebody else's way might be better, even though somebody else's way should actually be happening because it's their project and their vision. But I don't like that because I want this for me, so I'm going to bring in my dragons. That's somebody that doesn't really sit in their own power. She's doing all this, giving off all this like feminism vibes and all of that, like female power, female boss, all the rest of it. But she doesn't seem to have the true self-esteem to back it up. That's what I'm hearing. That's my opinion, given how snippy she gets in interviews, how she gets she makes things awkward fast. Because if you have true self-esteem, you can sit in an awkward situation and not make it awkward at all, not contribute to that awkwardness. But if you go on the attack, if you're always on the attack in things, then there's something in you that does not feel secure. And that's my feeling here. And now she's trapped in this situation where maybe she feels like if she gives in or lets it go, then she's totally lost the plot in a way, hasn't she? Because she's no control over anything anymore, because she didn't get her way. Because if she gives in, that means she didn't get her own way, and her whole concept of life and the way she lives it is called into question. And I feel like at the moment she's fighting for her life in terms of hanging on to her beliefs about life. She's not really looking at what her part in anything is, because I think she's too afraid to do that. when push comes to shove. And Ryan probably very much loves her, wants to support her. Maybe he's lost perspective too, and maybe there was an element of his wife was slightly falling for this Justin in a slight hormonal fugue, if you like. But I don't like to really discredit women by saying we're so a victim of our hormones that we can't control ourselves when it comes to a handsome man a couple of months after we've given birth, there's a whole big scenario going on there. But the thing that occurred to me today is what is she doing to her children here as well? In her mind, she might be saying to her, trying to emote to her children, this is what women do. We fight for our rights so that we can pass that knowledge on to you, and you will naturally fight for your feminine rights when you grow up. But actually, I don't know what age her kids at, but this will be coming up now in their kids' sphere. People, fellow children, fellow moms, fellow everything. There'll be little bits filtering to those kids by now about what their mum is, what their mum's behaviour is. And those kids have to deal with that. They won't possibly be totally sheltered from that. So she doesn't seem to be looking at all of the other things. She's just feeling so threatened by her worldview being called into question that she seems determined to hang on to it. And of course, I could be totally wrong. This is just kind of what has been musing through my mind over the last couple of days, just in this mildly interested curiosity. I always encourage everybody to be curious about everything that goes on in their lives and to really examine the thoughts and the feelings. And that's just some of the feelings that have been coming up for me about it all and about what it might mean to be in Blake Lively's head right now. But of course, I don't specifically know what that is like to be in Blake Lively's head right now and seeing things through her eyes and feeling whatever she's felt or experienced. I don't know that for sure. So we all do kind of need to kind of keep a little bit of an open mind, but in my therapist mind, that is slightly what's happening. So like I say, if you like this content, please do like, comment, share and subscribe. Hit the notification bell if this has been of interest to you, and I will speak to you another time. Thanks for watching.